It's back on with that MGB, and in this episode, I'm welding. But before I show you what I'm up to, check your subscribe please, click the notifications, comment, like, dislike, comments, all helps algorithms, and I don't know what those algorithms are. A lot of other content providers are having the same struggles, so please help. If you fancy contacting me, and that was a mouthful, wasn't it, Richard? If you fancy contacting me, then Church House Classics, it's all one word, @gmail.com. And if you fancy supporting the channel or just buying me a pint, then there's a PayPal me link scrolling at the bottom of the screen here, and all donations are gratefully received. Enjoy the video. Well, here's the piece I've chopped out. Yeah. I wasn't expecting beauty, I'll be honest. And it really is a repair of its time. There's an element of double-skinned on there, but not as much as I thought. It does weigh many, many, many tons. It's triple-skinned there, look. Oops, just tried to... Yeah, triple-skinned. Now, where are we? Well, we're probably not going to do anything with that other than use it as a template. So having cut that out, I now get access to see what's going on the floor. Now, good news is, every single one of the screws came out here. Let's put the light there. Every single one of the screws came out to allow me to get the blanking piece out. Okay, which is good. And the curtain on the inside here and the top of the sill, outer sill, all look really nice. Okay, that's good. This side's good. There's a small hole appeared in the rail down there, which I can fix. That's really not a problem. Where I've got my challenges, and you know there's going to be challenges, don't you? You just know it. Let's get the door open. No, door's not going to open. Right, door is opened. Right, let's try and keep the camera still so that I don't cause a flicker. Top of the inner sill is good, apart from this very tiny piece at the front end here behind the curtain. So I'm going to deal with that from the front. That's no real issue at all. This is the floor repair section. That's the side of the inner sill, and you can see it's compromised along here. So what I'm going to do is cut there, cut here, chop, weld in new steel, and I think we'll be okay. I think that'll be kind of what I want to do. There is an awful lot of crap in this channel at the front here which I need to deal with. Yeah. And then the other thing is, I found the evidence, Chris, of the fire which occurred on this car. So this is all burnt for some reason. I couldn't tell you why. Obviously there's paint up here, blue paint, original blue paint, but underneath here is all burned. And here is all burned. So it's had a footwell fire. Not quite sure how that's happened though, because it's not burnt up where the loom was. This is old, historic kind of damage, so I don't know, but overall I think we're not too bad. I'm gonna on this front edge, let me go round to the front, try not to move the lamp around too much, because otherwise what happens is the camera flickers and then I have people shouting at me about the crap lighting in my workshop. Now if I was to cut this here, and let's say right the way down to the bottom, so cut that piece off in its entirety, then I gain access to the side of the curtain, which would be a fairly straightforward repair. One of those days today, trying to get work done, and it's just been constant. Right, okay, I have, let's keep this nice and still. Stop flickering, you bastard. Right, I have, as you can see, seam welded a box section back in there. Now I need to make up the edges. It's not going to be beautiful, but it'll do the job. It's you can see here where the footwell has been welded in on both sides, front to back, and I'm not going to show you inside the sill because it's not pretty. It's not horrendous. So the inner sill is really kind of the bit I've been working on. There's a, as I understand it, there's a castle section that goes right down the middle here, and then you've got the outer sill. So the castle's in place, the castellated section. I don't know what they... I'm just not getting the right words in the right places here. So the overall structure of the sill is all there. The problem I've got is that behind here, there's kind of a jagged edge that goes all the way along here, but then it's made up with the floor section, and then this piece has been welded on underneath. So it's all contained and boxed in. It's just not quite... If I was kind of putting floors in a car nowadays, I probably wouldn't have done it this way round. But it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. So first stage is done. What I've then going to do for the footwell... Just get hold of meat prayer mats for the footwell. So you can see where I've got this too long at the moment. I looked at the overall repair section, which kind of goes across from here, this sort of line here, and goes right the way up to the top and into the engine bay up here. However, looking at this thing, I could cut all the way around here and replace the entire footwell section with the replacement panel, which is then all fabricated and will butt up to that edge over there, and it will look a lot better than this. I don't really want to replace it over the top of the chassis rail here, just purely because it's just going to end up being more work than it needs to be. We're not building this thing up as a complete new car. It's, you can see here on the outer sill section, it all looks quite in good order. You can see the remains of the inner sill down there. I'm not going to show you too much of that. I'm rambling, really. I think until the main overall repair section comes, I'm not going to know quite how I'm going to fix this. But I can't see myself repairing this and putting it back on. It's a waste of bloody time. And you can see the rusted pile down here, and the cardboard pile is growing. Corrugated cardboard. I wonder what that is. Corrugated cardboard. So there is no corrugated cardboard in there now. You'd be delighted to hear. A short while later. Right, that's all seam sealed in now. Yeah, it was a bit of a fucking job, I'm going to tell you now. So I had to rebuild, as you've seen already, the inner sill, and then rebuild the structure around the side curtain, rebuild the structure around the floor, and then the easiest way to make up the footwell section was to buy the complete heritage panel, of which I cut that kind of chunk out. So that's where the steering column would come through, and this is up behind the pedal box up here, sorry, underneath the pedal box. So I really didn't want to be stitching it all the way in up here. There's no point. So I have seam welded it along there. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. So seam weld along here and all the way around, inside and out, and then put a nice seam seal over the top. Now that is a damn sight more watertight than it was before. I also pulled away some of the glass fibre that's been put onto the floor pan. There's nothing really going underneath it. I will treat the surface rust, and then I'm going to paint it with a chassis type paint. It stinks in it at the moment. It's going to give me a headache because that seam sealer is almost gone off, almost. But it will do the job. It will do the job. So we now have a footwell back together and in one bit. I'm not going to slam the door because the cable's in there. That does mean that once I've painted, I'll be able to put the pedals on, bleed the brakes, drop the car down to the ground. Oh yeah! Seems like a positive step, doesn't it? This one's been kind of annoying me, I'll be honest, this particular job. I've not been looking forward to it. And then the other thing that's given me a headache is I don't have the key for the locking petrol cap. I've been through all the keys the customer's given me, and not one of them works. And I think someone else has had this issue because... Let me just prop the boot lid up. Whoops! I think someone else has had this problem because That's not sealed in, which is why the boot stinks, and I mean stinks, of petrol. So now I've finished with the welding, I'm going to see what I can suck out of the petrol tank. But I need to wear my face mask for that, because it is, I'm not joking, it is truly revolting. Let's put these bits up here. Ah, dear. And then the various clips and springs and bits and bobs came from Moss Europe, thank you very much. There we got the little springs and the little pins that go inside the knob. And I got a new cable too, a new control cable for the heat control. Because the old one, that one there, is solid. I can't get it to move at all. And I think what's happened is someone's probably tried to lean on it just a little bit too much and then snapped all the pin and the spring off on the control. The control's salvageable. No real issues with it at all. Just needs to be put back together. But we're actually pretty darn close on this. I'm pleased I got the welding done. I need to tidy up all this loom in the engine bay. It's a shambles. Not quite sure. Brakes are bled through. Nothing particularly nasty. I tried using the vacuum pump and it was really, pardon the expression, really struggling to pull the fluid through. And in the end I used the pressure feed system to force the fluid from here through to each of the four corners. And yes, brakes are bled. Next, I have been looking at this steering wheel, so I straightened it out a little bit just because. I've also been trying to work out what that switch was there, and it appears to have been a horn. Not entirely sure I understand why, but it was the horn. As a toggle switch, as non-off switch. So I've remade up the loom, and what I've basically done here is I have created a horn push that will operate. It's not quite finished yet, but there we are. So there's no horn at the moment. If I push down, it completes the circuit, and that works beautifully. This is on obviously a pattern wheel here. So let me show you what I've done. Right, so first and foremost, this slip ring here is insulated from the main part of the column. Although it turns on the column, there's a plastic sleeve between the brass ring and the steering column, and this slip whatever brush here sits on it, and it goes into the loom and then connects up. And the idea is that when that there goes to an earth, it completes the circuit. And at the moment, all I've done really here is I've connected up the other end of the cable onto my multimeter, put it on continuity, and when I touch the end of the wire inside the steering column, it completes the circuit, gives me the earth, and obviously the horns will sound. Now, in order to do this, I think this is a fairly standard MG horn push. I believe it's a fairly standard MG horn push. So, because there wasn't a huge amount of stuff going on with this, let's bring the tripod over here. Where's the tripod? There's the tripod. So all I've really done here, because there wasn't a huge amount of stuff going on inside this horn push, there was a hole through the middle here. And obviously it's got the hole for the pencil style horn push on the later MGs. So I put a riv nut in there and then put a screw in from this side, and I can adjust the length of the screw such that it's exactly the right length, so when I push the horn push down, it contacts with the device at the end. It earths through this, because this will be held tight to the steering column. You can see here where the grub screws go through and hold everything in place. Yeah, and I think that's going to be the easiest way of doing it. As you can see, it's quite a rudimentary design, but it's going to be better than a toggle switch on the dash. Nice big press in the middle of the steering wheel. Now, this is an original unit. It has got some damage to it. I'm not quite sure whether it's going to be the end unit or not. I don't know. So I've just really just wanted to get it working, which is exactly what I've done. So I'm quite pleased with that. Obviously, I'll shorten the screw. Once I know how long it needs to be, I shall shorten the screw. And the nut is on there, so I can actually use it as a lock nut. So once it's all in position, I can wind the nut tight against the inside edge of the riv nut there and hold everything in place. Yeah, you with me? I hope so. It's all fairly straightforward stuff. And then obviously once everything's in place, then we can put the badge back on the outside and not have to worry about it. Right, so having done that, I need to give myself a little bit more room between the steering wheel and the push. It looks like there are just 3 nylon nuts here. I grab the steering wheel. Now, so what I want to do here is, before I adjust up the central screw and everything, I want that ring to sit on those platforms. And I think it pretty much does, actually. It probably could go, because the screw heads are interfering with it, you see. So it probably could come out just a little bit, maybe a turn on each of these nuts, just to bring that further away. And then it can all go back together again. I think that's done it. So I lengthened the nylon nuts in the back there to give me a nice big push. Shorten the screw. And I just need to wind the screw in now until we're making continuity. What I don't want, you see, is to have it too close, such that it's going to set the bloody horn off when you don't want it setting off. So if I wind the screw in, pretty much there, like that. There we go. Horn push works on the centre of the steering wheel again. Right, so that just needs to be put back together again now. The only thing that is slightly perturbing about this is there's no kind of centre click on the indicator. It clicks in one direction or the other, but not when it's in the middle, which is a bit irritating. The cancel doesn't always work either, so we might end up getting another switch. Oh, worked that time. We might end up getting another switch, but that's not going to undo the work that I've done with the centre horn push. I'm quite pleased. A job done. Right, that can all go in there. Just to be clear, folks, this is petrol. It's not very nice, is it? Yeah. I think while this is happening, I'm going to see if I can't get this lock undone. I think the problem is it's probably all gummed up, so I'm going to try and lube it from the inside and see if we can't get the key to operate. I suspect what's happened is the fixing has got corroded in there, because I've got a key that sort of goes in, but not properly. Oh, it's revolting. I think if you were down the pub, you'd had a couple of beers and it was coming out like that, you'd be looking to rehydrate. It's not beautiful, is it? Batteries. Right, these chappies, because we're a chrome bumper MGB, twin 6-volt batteries. Wet batteries need constantly maintaining, topping up. You have to top them up with distilled water. You remember you used to have to do that when you were kids. These are both fucked. I think this one's got some frost damage to it because the insulation around the top cover has fractured. Anyway, I can't get eyes with those to get any charge whatsoever. I've given up on them. So I did a bit of research. Excuse the flickering light, folks. And I bought from Tanya Batteries. I know it's not Tanya, but if you think of it as Tanya Batteries, I bought one of these. So this is the YBX5202 battery. 12 volts. It is 45 amp hours, 440 amps. I'm led to believe by a lot of the American kind of MGB forums that this will be more than enough for the car. I've put it in the left-hand battery tray, purely because then it gives good access to the fuel pump in the right-hand battery tray. And what I'm planning on doing is in the top cover, I shall put a battery cut-off. So it'll go up here, like this, and it can sit there and be quite happy And the idea really is, in the event of a meltdown in the loom, because we really don't know what's going on with this loom, in the event of a meltdown with the loom, you can isolate the battery really quickly. Okay, so the only real challenge I have with this battery is that the battery is a lot shorter than the original. So let's get that over there. Because of that, the securing rods that came supplied are needing to be like that. So all I do, chop the end off, mount into a vise. Dead easy this, folks, it really is. Tap it. Right, and then raise it. And continue to tap it. So that we end up with an anchor. An anchor, I hear you say? How very dare you, sir? Mr. Gravity. Right. Okay, now I can reuse the original battery brackets in order to hold this battery in. So I can utilise the original earth point, which I might clean up, but you know, we'll see what happens. So the original earth point will go directly to the negative terminal. I'll run the original positive to the underside of my switch, and then I'll run the bridge wire, which I got off the car. I shall run to the switch. So the idea is one 12-volt battery, and rather than the second battery being in place, I'll put a switch in its location as a safety device. That makes sense, doesn't it? There you go. Right, so I'm going to crack on with that, and then I can start testing through the electrics on this thing once I've got a battery wired in. The main disadvantage of the original style of batteries is they need constantly maintaining, and because of the need for constant maintenance and this kind of screwed on cover, it becomes a bit of a pain in the backside really to actually do anything with them. So on that basis, it makes sense really for it to be a maintenance-free battery, a smaller battery than those two, and significantly cheaper. Those are bloody expensive to buy. This worked out, so this battery, this YBX5202, it's actually just a 202 battery, that turned out to be 58 quid plus the VAT, which is not bad, and that's the website that I get these things from. Stop flickering. Stop flickering. Sorry folks, I'll put the link in the description down below. It's me LED work light, likes to flicker. I probably just need to get a better light, don't I? That's pretty much about it really. And obviously you get the kind of FIA key to go in the top. It's quite useful, I guess, to be able to just disconnect the battery when you're not using the car as well. So that's the main reason for doing this. And then if the customer wanted to have a convenient external charge point, we can run that off the top of the battery too. Bags of room. Right. A short while later, we have the battery in and clamped down. We have the kill switch in and fixed in. So strapped it in on the back of the heel board here. Well, it's actually not a heel board, is it? It's a standard kind of switch. Useful kind of immobiliser as well. Quite primitive, but right, let's see what we got. Have we got lights? We've got lights. Yes, we have. We've got number plate light out. We've got lights. Be interesting to see if we've got brake lights. Can I get to the brake light? Somewhat disappointingly, the pedal's going down. Brakes might be leaking somewhere. Right, the easiest way to find out if we've got brake lights is to take the two connectors off here. Oh look, well the connectors have just fallen off, so they weren't even connected on. So let's make up some brake light connections, shall we folks? Should be able to do that quite easily. So brake lights, and then I need to sort all this fucking shambles out down here, because it's all just a little bit too close to the steering. So it all wants to be kind of, you know, clipped on. I get some P-clips or something, just clip it onto the bulkhead so it's all in a safe place to be. However, Brake lights we're not bothered about. Let's see if the engine cranks. Lights off. Ignition. Oh, ignition lights on. Horn. No, come back to that in a second. Yes, we're cranking. And we're getting oil pressure. And wipers are working. Not a lot else really. Oh, indicators, I suppose. Indicator. Indicator. Woohoo! And indicator. The fault that I mentioned about where the indicator control didn't seem to have a central kind of park position. Once the cowling is in place, it does. It's got quite a nice kind of click to go to the centre section, so I'm guessing the cowling is part of that. So we've got no horn. We can sort those out in a second. We've got a shambles of wiring in here. We've got oil pressure, no brake lights. Right. Right, let's start dribbling forwards. So I've disconnected the bulk of the connectors here, which is all for the rear end loom. Fairly straightforward, so that's easy enough. So I can just double check all the bullets on those. There are a couple of melted wires in here though, which is slightly worrying. One of those being the green wire. And the green wire is an ignition controlled feed to various things like, you know, overdrive, reverse light and so forth. So yeah, that's melted. So then I started thinking, oh my god, what are we going to do here? So I think one of the problems I've got here is that the loom has been rebound. It's not unusual, is it? There's lots of wires that are bound into it. So I think really I want to see what is going on in here, because there's an orange wire here that I don't know what the fuck it is. There is and it's very sticky, this stuff as well. I might have to do here. The battery's disconnected, by the way, folks. You start lugging the loom around, disconnect the battery. So there's a green wire there outside the loom. I don't know what that is. There's an orange wire which goes into a bullet, which I don't know what it is. I mean, there's all sorts of things, like there's an amp at the back of the car, and it could well be something to do with that. I don't know. I really don't know. So I need to pick it apart, find out what's going on, what these various wires are, and see if we can't get some sort of order going on. So for instance, I've got a nice little spade terminal here coming from the white wire that goes into the ignition coil, which then goes to a black wire and crimped on spades. It's never going to really help, is it? It's not going to help you diagnosing things when the colour codes change every 3 feet. But the idea of putting a P-clip up here will actually support the loom up and away from the steering column down there. I am going to need to do something with this as well, so this needs to zip tie over here or something, and the loom that goes to the rear of the car needs to be held on with a P-clip or something. So we're going to get busy with P-clips. It's almost like, I mean, looking at this, someone's been through the insulation with a knife and then put, because I can see there's the original cloth insulation. It's never a good sign when you see cloth insulation. The wires themselves are PVC, but the actual loom is bound in with cloth. And as you can see, there's nothing at all up there. So I don't know, is the honest answer here. I don't know. I've got to see how far I need to go with this in order to just get a rough idea that the loom is okay. I might get some of that clip-on kind of insulation just to go over the top. So there's no point in me unbinding all this, because this all looks reasonably solid. It's this junction up here where I've got odd orange wires which are outside the loom, which I don't know what they are. That wire's burnt as well. That's a white wire that goes to the back end of the car. So back end of the car, we should have left indicator, right indicator, brake lights, side lights, and I don't think we've got fog lights on this. Nope. Oh, there's reverse lights. So there's reverse lights on it. So reverse lights, brake lights, side lights, indicators left and right is really what goes up to the back end, and that really should just be self-contained in this chunk of loom here, which will just connect onto these connectors here. That's the wire that's burnt. But I don't like the look of that at all.